What's up, YouTube? Today I got an absolute banger tutorial for you guys. Today we're going to be learning how to crochet these cute little swinging ducks, and spring is upon us, so it's time to get our little decorations out and crochet our spring stuff. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, let's get into the materials. You will need a weight 6 yarn. I'm using Parfait Chunky and yellow, orange, brown. This is for your swing, but you could really choose any color you'd like. A 5mm crochet hook, some safety eyes. I'm using 6mm safety eyes, some pins for sewing the swing on, some scissors, a stitch marker if you would like to use one, a sewing needle, and some stuffing. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into it. I'm not going to use the magic ring, so it could be more beginner friendly. So what we're going to do is make a slip knot, like so. And then go ahead and tighten your slip knot around your hook. And now what we're gonna do is chain 3. So that's 1, 2, 3. And now we have our chain of 3 here. And now what we're gonna do is slip stitch into that first chain that we made right here. I'm sapping it quite a lot, but we're just gonna go ahead and go into that first chain that we made, like so, and then yarn over. And once you yarn over, you wanna go ahead and pull through both of those loops on your hook. So that was 1, and this is 2. And now this is gonna be our replacement magic ring. You can see there's a hole in the center we could work our single crochets in when we get there. Now that we have this hole in the center, we're going to move on to round 1. Okay, what I like to do before we start the first round is I like to chain 1, but that's completely optional. You don't have to do that. But after we chain 1, we're going to make a 6 single crochet inside of this hole. Make sure you're crocheting around this tail here so we can close up the circle later. So just go inside that center, yarn over, pull through, and then yarn over again for a single crochet. And now I'm going to place my stitch marker here so we don't know, so we do know where our first original stitch was, like so. Okay, now that we've completed our single crochet, we're going to go ahead and place 5 more single crochet inside this ring, but make sure you're crocheting around this tail like I said earlier so we can actually close up the ring later. So just go ahead and make your 5 single crochet, and I will catch up back with you guys. Okay, that was my 6th single crochet. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and count to make sure that I have 6. Boom, that's 6. So now we can go ahead and pull this tail, and it should close up that ring nicely. As you can see, the no magic ring chain 3 method works pretty much the same. Okay, now we're gonna be moving on to joining the rounds. So what I like to do is I like to do the slip stitch chain 1 method, but that is optional as well. You do not have to do that. I'm just gonna go ahead and slip stitch into this first stitch here. If you're using the spiral method, just go ahead and continue your rounds without the slip stitch or the chain 1. But for people who are doing slip stitch chain 1, just go ahead and slip stitch into that first stitch that we made, like so, and then go ahead and chain 1. And this is how we're going to be joining all our rounds from this point on. Okay, now moving on to round 2, what we're going to do is increase in all of these 6 stitches that we made. Now you want to be careful because this is our slip stitch right here. It looks like our last stitch, but it's not. And then we have our chain 1, and this is our actual last stitch right here. So that's where we're going to end our round. So now let's just go ahead and go into that same stitch that we slip stitched into, and we're going to place 2 single crochets inside of that stitch for an increase. So this is 1, And now I'm just going to go ahead and place my stitch marker so we don't lose progress of where our first stitch is. And now we're just going to go ahead and go back into that exact same stitch and place another single crochet for an increase. Now we've just completed our first increase. Now we're going to go into the following stitch, and now we're going to place 2 single crochets in that exact same stitch once again for an increase, like so. That was our second increase. Now we're going to go into the next stitch with 2 single crochets for an increase as well. So that's 1 and 2. And now we're just going to continue placing 2 single crochets in each stitch until we get to our last stitch. So I'm going to check in back with you guys when I get there. Okay, this is my last increase here. Boom, now that that's complete, we should have a total of 12 stitches going around since we did place 2 single crochets in each of those 6 stitches. So that makes 12. Make sure you go ahead and count and make sure it's 12. Now, like I said before, we have our slip stitch, and then we have our chain 1, and then this is our actual first stitch of the round here. So we're going to go ahead and remove our stitch marker and then slip stitch into that first stitch of the round here, and then chain 1. Okay, once we've slip stitched and chain 1, now we're going to move on to round 3. Okay, now in round 3, what we're going to do is single crochet, increase, single crochet, increase. So let's go ahead and single crochet into that first stitch that we slip stitched into. Okay, that was our single crochet, and now we can go ahead and place our stitch marker here so we don't lose our first stitch of the round. Okay, now in the following stitch, we're going to place an increase, which is 2 single crochet inside that exact same stitch. So that was 1. Now this is 2 inside that exact same stitch. And this is our pattern for the round, single crochet, increase. So now after our increase, we're going to go into the following stitch with 1 single crochet. Boom, that's complete. Now in the next stitch, we're going to place an increase. Now after increase, you're going to place a single crochet into the next stitch. Now after a single crochet, you're going to increase into the following stitch. And this is just going to be the pattern going all the way around. So just keep doing this, and I will meet you guys when I am complete, and I'll tell you guys what to do next. Okay, I'm on my last increase of the round here, so I'm going to go ahead and place my 2 single crochet in the stitch. And now that is the end of round 3. If you count your stitches going around, you should have a total of 18 going around. So go ahead and make sure you count your stitches. And once you make sure you have 18 stitches, we're good to go to the next round. So let's go ahead and slip stitch into this first stitch of the round here. Remember, that's our slip stitch and our chain 1, and we're going to slip stitch into that first stitch of the round. So I'm just going to remove my stitch marker and then make a slip stitch into that first stitch of the round and then chain 1. Okay, now to move on to round 4. In round 4, what we're going to do is just place 1 single crochet going all the way around. So let's just go ahead and single crochet into that first stitch that we slip stitched into. And now we can just go ahead and place our stitch marker on that first stitch so we don't get lost. And now you just want to continue placing 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way around, no increases, no decreases. Now we'll be repeating the 18 single crochet all the way around for 3 rounds. So this is round 4. So after round 4, after this round is complete, we'll be doing 18 single crochet all the way around for a total of 2 more times. So we end on round 6. So I'm just going to continue placing my 1 single crochet all the way around, and I'll meet you guys when I'm finished. Okay, I'm at the end of round 4 here, and slip stitch is here, and the chain 1, and now we're just going to go ahead and slip stitch into that first stitch of the round like usual. Okay, like I said before, now what we're going to do is continue 18 single crochet all the way around for 2 rounds. So we end on round 6, and I'll meet you guys when I'm done. Okay, this is what your piece should be looking like after you finish round 6. And now we're just going to go ahead and slip stitch and chain 1. Okay, now that we're done with round 6, we're going to go ahead and move on to round 7. And in round 7, we're going to be adding the little duck feet here. And we're going to be using bobble stitches, which is just 5 double crochet together. And I just like to cut a long strand of orange instead of, grabbing yarn from the skein, but it's completely optional. It's up to you. Just cut you a long strand, and that should be enough for both of the feet. Okay, round 7 may be a little bit confusing for beginners, but I'm going to break it down for you guys. We're just going to start with a single crochet inside that same stitch that we slip stitched into. And now we can just go ahead and place our stitch marker so we don't lose our first stitch. Now after we place the stitch marker, we're going to go ahead and decrease using the next 2 stitches. So we're going to use the invisible decrease method, which means we're not going to go through the whole stitch and decrease. We're not going to go through the whole thing like I'm showing you guys here, but we're just going to use the front loops of the stitches, which will make our decrease come out cleaner. So now let's go ahead and make our invisible decrease. So what we're going to do is just go into that first front loop of the following stitch, like this. And now you're just going to go into the next front loop of the next stitch. And now once you've gone through both front loops, you're just going to go ahead and yarn over and pull through both of those front loops. So that was 1, and this is 2. And now we can just yarn over one more time and pull through both of the loops on our hook, and that completes our invisible decrease. And yeah, this method is really good if you just want to have a very clean look to your project. Okay, now we're going to complete this sequence one more time. So let's go ahead and single crochet into the next stitch. And now after our single crochet, we're going to go ahead and use the next 2 stitches to do our decrease. So remember, we're just going inside the front loops only and pulling through those front loops. Now after we pull through both of these loops with our yarn, we're not going to finish the decrease. We're actually going to color change so we can do our bobble stitch. So right here, instead of finishing the stitch, we're going to go ahead and grab our orange. Now I just cut me a long piece here of the orange yarn, and now what we're going to do is just wrap this orange yarn around the hook like so, and then pull through both of the remaining loops on your hook with the orange yarn so we can finish the stitch with the orange yarn, and now we have color changed. Now what you can do is just pull on that yellow tail a little bit to tighten the stitch up, and then also you can hold that orange short tail as well. Okay, now working in our orange yarn, we're going to do a bobble stitch in the next stitch. So what we're going to do is yarn over. And now once you've yarned over, you can go ahead and go into that next stitch like so. And now you just want to go ahead and yarn over and pull through. So now we have 3 loops on our hook like this. And now what we're going to do is yarn over again and pull through 2 loops. So now we have 2 loops on our hook. We're going to go ahead and yarn over and go back inside the exact same stitch like this. Now you want to yarn over and pull through. Now you have 4 loops on your hook, and now you're going to yarn over and pull through 2. So now we have 3 loops on our hook like this, and now we're just going to repeat this process until we have 5 loops on our hook. So go ahead and yarn over and go back inside the exact same stitch. Yarn over once again, pull through, yarn over, and pull through 2. Now we have 4 loops on our hook, and now we're going to do this one more time so we have 5 loops. So now we're going to yarn over, go back inside that exact same stitch, yarn over once again, pull through, yarn over, and pull through 2. Okay, now at this point we have 5 loops on our hook. Now instead of finishing this stitch with the orange yarn, we're going to go ahead and put that to the side and pick up our yellow so we can color change back to yellow and finish the stitch. So like I said, we have 5 loops, and now we're just going to take our yellow and yarn over and pull through all 5 of those loops. Okay, now at this point we have completed our bobble stitch, and we also successfully color changed. Now you can go ahead and just pull on that orange strand a little bit to tighten up that stitch. And now what we're going to do is decrease using the next 2 stitches. So we're just going to go in the next 2 front loops to do our invisible decrease. So that's 1 and 2. Oh, what I say, this is not a tutorial if I'm not struggling in a video. But once you get through those 2 front loops, pull through those front loops, and then just yarn over and pull through once again, and then boom, that's our decrease. And I'll just go ahead and pop out that stitch a little bit. Okay, we completed our decrease, so now we're going to single crochet into the next stitch. Now that we've completed our single crochet, we're going to go ahead and use the next 2 front loops to decrease. Now just go ahead and yarn over and go through those front loops. And now we're not going to finish the stitch like last time. We're going to go ahead and drop our yellow and pick up our orange and go through those 2 loops on our hook with the orange so we can color change. Now just go ahead and yarn over and pull through both of those loops. And now we are working with our orange yarn. You can go ahead and tug on that yellow tail a little bit to tighten up that stitch. And now we're going to create another bobble stitch in the next stitch. So go ahead and yarn over and go through the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through two. Yarn over, go in that same exact stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through two. Yarn over, go in that same stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through two. Now we're just going to do this one more time so we can have 5 loops on our hook. And I cut the perfect amount of yarn because look at that yarn tail. It was just enough to get me 5 double crochet. Now we're going to go ahead and drop our orange and pick up our yellow. And now you just want to go ahead and pull through all 5 loops with the yellow. And then boom, that's another bobble stitch complete. And you can go ahead and tug on that orange tail to tighten up that stitch. And now we're just going to go ahead and decrease using the next 2 stitches. So just go ahead and go into the front loop of the next 2 stitches. Now you can go ahead and yarn over and pull through both of those front loops. And then yarn over again and pull through the 2 loops on your hook and pop the stitch out. Now this is what the feet should be looking like when you're done with the bobble stitches. And let me give a round of applause because that round was complicated. But now we're just going to go ahead and single crochet into the next stitch. And now after our single crochet, we're just going to go ahead and use the 2 remaining stitches to decrease. So let's go ahead and go into those 2 front loops and then do our invisible decrease. Okay, this round is complete now, so we can go ahead and remove our stitch marker and then just go ahead and slip stitch and chain 1 into this stitch right here. Okay, now we are done with this round, and this is what your duck should be looking like so far. Just a little circle with 2 little orange feet. And now we're going to go ahead and dive into the face detailing and placing the eyes. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and place our safety eyes. So go ahead and grab your safety eyes. And now we're going to place them in between the 3rd and 4th row. So go ahead and count 1, 2, 3. And right here is our 3rd row and our 4th row. And we're going to be placing our eyes between the 3rd and 4th row right here. So just go ahead and grab an eye. And I like to use the foot as a little guide. So I like go in the middle kind of, and I just go straight up. And then I place the eye in a stitch near there. And then go ahead and count 5 stitches to the left. And that is where you want to place your other eye. Now just go ahead and make sure you like your placement and move it around a little bit and see how it looks. And if you're happy with your placement, you can just go ahead and secure the eyes using the washers. I'm happy with my placement, so I'm going to go ahead and grab my washers. And I'm just going to poke the eye out to the hole that we have from the inside, like so. You just want to bring it to that hole and you just want to place your washers. Okay, once you have secured your eyes, we're going to go ahead and embroider the mouth. So just get you a strand of your orange yarn and thread that on your yarn needle. And now what we're going to do is, since we left 5 stitches in between the eyes, we're going to leave 1 stitch out on each side and make the mouth in the middle 3 stitches. So leave 1 stitch on each side, and as you can see, the mouth is crossing 3 stitches in the middle. Okay, now what you want to do is just grab your duck and go into this bottom hole here and come out a stitch away from the eye. Like so, you want to come out around here, leaving 1 stitch between the eye and where we're coming out. And then just go ahead and pull through. Now you just want to come over here to the other side and leave 1 stitch between the eye and where we're going to put our yarn needle through. And now you just want to go back to where we originally went through. Go back to that same stitch and now pull through. And then you just want to repeat this as many times as you need to get the look that you like. And I was actually pretty impressed with myself that I got these little duck lips on my first 2 little sewing things. Like, okay, you see those duck lips? But once your shape looks good and everything looks good, just go ahead and go back through that stitch where we came from, like that, and just go ahead and pull that yarn through. And now once you have your lips sewn on, this is what your duck should be looking like. And now you can just go ahead and tuck in all these tails. And now that we finished embroidering the mouth, we're going to go ahead and move on to stuffing our duck. Now you just want to go ahead and take your stuffing and stuff your duck as much as you want to. I like to stuff mine a lot because I like how they look when they're fatter. They look really cute like that. So I'm going to go ahead and stuff mine a lot. It's up to you on how much you stuff yours. Okay, now once you have stuffed your duck to your liking, you can go ahead and place your hook back into the working yarn. And now we're going to go ahead and start round 8. Okay, now in round 8, we're going to be decreasing all the way around. So we're going to be working in those front loops of the stitches. And now we have the stitch that we slip stitched into, and I found that it's pretty hard to try to insert your hook into that front loop only on that first stitch. So usually I just go into the second stitch and just go into that front loop because I do not feel like fighting with that first stitch. So you can see how it works out for you, but I just like to start in that second stitch and then go into the third stitch, the front loops only, and then start from there. So it's just much more simple. And as long as you close the hole small enough, it doesn't matter how many stitches we have. So that's going to be our first decrease stitch, and now we're just going to continue decreasing all the way around. And when it comes to getting that front loop of the bobble stitch, it's going to be this loop right here. You'll see that there's 2 loops, and you just want to go on the front one of the bobble. I know it can be a little bit confusing when looking at all of those stitches, but you just want to go ahead and continue going in each front loop and decreasing. Now once you've decreased all the way around, you can just go ahead and slip stitch and chain 1. After you chain 1, you can go ahead and cut your yarn, and you want to leave a long tail so we can close up the remaining hole. Okay, so now we have this hole that needs closing. So now you just want to go ahead and grab your yarn needle and thread your yarn onto it. And now what we're gonna do is go through each remaining front loop. So not the whole stitch, but the front loop only, just like how if we were doing a invisible decrease. You just wanna go through each front loop and pull through. And what that's gonna do is it's gonna scrunch up the middle and cause the piece to close up nicely. So just go through each remaining front loop and pull through. Okay, now that the piece is closed, you can just go out a random stitch of the body and pull through to hide your yarn. And you can go ahead and cut this yarn tail off and tuck it in. We have completed our duck, and now we're gonna work on the swing. Okay, now working on the swing, you wanna go ahead and grab your swing color and make a slip knot. And after you make your slip knot, go ahead and put your hook on the yarn. And now we're gonna go ahead and chain 13. This is what it should be looking like after you have your chain of 13. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna skip that first chain and go into the second chain with a single crochet. Now I like to work in the back bumps here, so I'm gonna go ahead and go into that second chain in the back bump and make a single crochet. Now, working in the back bumps is optional. You can work in the chain as you normally do, but now we're just going to go ahead and continue crocheting all the way down this chain, just placing one single crochet in each chain. Okay, I'm finishing up my last single crochet here, and this is what your swing should be looking like when you're finished with those single crochets. And now we're gonna move on to the second part of the swing. We're gonna go ahead and turn our piece, so we're working on that original chain 13 again, and we're gonna go ahead and single crochet in that next stitch that's available. And you're gonna wanna go ahead and single crochet 12 more times, so that was one. And now you just wanna single crochet 11 more times across this chain. And go ahead and crochet this tail in, and if you end up not crocheting it in, you can just go ahead and weave it in later. Okay, now once you get to the end of the swing, this is what it should be looking like. And now you just want to go ahead and go into that next stitch and make a slip stitch. And then I like to make one more slip stitch depending on how it looks, so I can get in the middle of the swing like so. And now what we're gonna do is chain 50, and this is gonna be the hanger of like the length of the swing. So you can chain as many or as little as you want, but I found that 50 is a pretty good length. It makes about a 7-inch swing. Now once you have your chain of 50 completed, go ahead and untangle it so we can slip stitch into the other side of the swing, and it doesn't have a whole bunch of twists and everything like that. Now we have the wrong side, and the good side is this side, and this is the wrong side. So this is what the duck is gonna sit on top of. So let's go ahead and slip stitch into a side stitch over here. Try to make it in the middle as much as possible. Just go ahead and yarn over and slip stitch so we can connect the swing. And once you do that, you can go ahead and cut your yarn, leaving a long tail for sewing. And now this is what our swing should be looking like. And now it is time to attach the swing and the duck. Okay, now when it comes to attaching the swing to the duck's body, you want to go ahead and place that wrong side of the swing right below the duck's feet so the duck's feet could pop out and it looks like the feet are in front of the swing. Now, once you have a good placement of where everything is at, go ahead and pin it in place with your safety pins, and we're going to get into the sewing portion. Okay, now once you have everything sewn on and in place, you want to go ahead and get that yarn tail that we left on the swing earlier, and you want to go through the duck with that yarn tail and a stitch that won't be seen. So I'm gonna go through this stitch and the swing is gonna cover that, so it won't be seen. And now what you want to do is go through the chick, or the duck I mean, and you want to come on top of the swing. So you're going through the duck and you're going through the swing. So this is what's gonna attach the two. So go through the duck and come out on top of the swing. And now just go ahead and pull through. And what that's gonna do is it's gonna attach that side of the swing to the duck. And now we have our yarn tail here. And now we're just gonna repeat this process a few more times. So I'm gonna go ahead and take the safety pin out. And now I'm gonna go back through the swing. And I'm gonna go back inside the duck. And I'm gonna create this hook motion that's gonna allow me to go through the duck and come back out on top of the swing. So we're attaching that bottom portion. Now we can go ahead and pull through. And now I'm just gonna go over here and I'm gonna go back through the swing and then go back through the duck and attach this right portion like so. And this is what it should be looking like once your swing is attached. Everything is good. And you can go ahead and cut that yarn tail off now. Just go ahead and put it through a stitch of the duck and cut it off. And now we're gonna be placing the wings. Okay, now what we're gonna do is place the wings in between rounds 4 and 5, so right below the eyes. So you just wanna go ahead and take you a long strand of yellow and thread that on your yarn needle. And now I'm just gonna go ahead and find a stitch in the back of the duck and come out in between rounds 4 and 5 where I would want the wings to be, so around here. And that's gonna be in between rounds 4 and 5, and make sure it lines up. And now you just want to pull through a little bit, leaving a little bit of a tail. And now you just want to go over the swing about 3 stitches away, and you want to go back inside that stitch that we originally came through and pull through. And what this is going to do is it's going to like create something over the swing, like a little loop. And now we're just gonna continue this a few times so we can bulk up the wing a little bit and it looks like an actual wing instead of just, a little line. So as you can see, after a few times, it starts looking like a little wing instead of just one little line. And I like to do this around 5 times. But once you are satisfied with how it looks, you just want to go ahead and go through that same stitch that you came out of, but instead of going back, you want to go ahead and go on the other side of the duck's body so you can make the other wing in between rounds 4 and 5. And now what you want to do is you want to line it up to make sure that these wings are going to be straight, horizontal. So I'm going to move over my needle a little bit to make sure it's horizontal, so that looks good. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and pull through. And now we're just going to continue this process of going over 3 stitches and bulking up this wing. Okay, now once you have your wing how you want it, just go back through that stitch that we came from in the beginning and go ahead and tie the yarn and go ahead and cut it off and tuck it in. And now you have your completed swinging duck. That is it for today's video, you guys. If you guys enjoyed today's tutorial, please like and subscribe. It'll really help out the channel a lot. And with that being said, peace.